In this episode of our Best of season, we are playing with fire. I'm Cat Neville, and this is Feast TV. For this episode of our Best of season, I went back into the archives and pulled out some of our fiery episodes. And I'm also revisiting one of your favorite recipes. A couple years ago, I made a chocolate stout layer cake, and I am going to be making that again for you today. And rather than filling each layer with chocolate buttercream, I'm going to be filling it with caramel. So I'm gonna shift over to the stove and get started. Every cake has a liquid element that combines with the dry ingredients, and what makes this cake so fantastic is that we're mixing a really beautifully caramelized chocolate stout with unsweetened cocoa and butter, and that's going to be that liquid base for this cake. And what's awesome, honestly, is that you can really taste the stout in the finished cake. A lot of times when you include beer or something like that in a recipe, it'll add bitterness from hops, but by using stout, it adds that wonderful kind of roasty quality. It's tasty stuff. So just over some medium heat, I am going to melt 4 sticks of butter, and then I'm going to stir in 2 cups of that stout. There are so many fun stouts that breweries are making these days. This one happens to be a chocolate oatmeal stout. Okay, so I'm gonna let the butter completely melt down, and then I'm stirring in that cocoa. Whisk all this wonderful stuff together until it's nice and smooth. And then you have to set it aside and let it cool almost all the way down before you add it to the rest of your ingredients. So while I whisk this up, let's head to Sedalia, Missouri, and meet the guy behind Halcyon Forge. He is handcrafting knives in his garage. We're in Sedalia, Missouri at Halcyon Forge in a cute blue house. And what is this actually called?
I'm a bladesmith is what I would consider it, but this would be a blacksmith shop and metalworking. We make knives from reclaimed materials, use a lot of different steels, different woods, anything we can pretty much find that we can use.
How did you even get into this? How did this become part of your life?
My dad and I were at an outdoors show, and they were selling handmade knives, and I like to make something rather than buy it, so I figured I would research that, and 6 months later, I started making knives. And I started with hunting knives, but they don't get used very often. And I wanted to make something that's used every day by people that are committed to their job, so I made chef knives.
That's so cool. You said it's reclaimed steel.
Yes, ma'am.
Where do you find it?
Junkyards. We go to swap meets and stuff. We use automotive parts, reclaimed saw blades. We pick it up anywhere we can find it.
I would assume that the metals have different compounds inside of them depending on what they're used for.
Correct.
So do you have to kind of keep it separate, or you just melt it all down? Does it matter?
We don't melt anything. It's as it is, but we forge it into the shape we want it to be.
Okay.
Most of my knives are sold to Bertarelli Cutlery, and I also do a lot of custom orders.
So custom orders from chefs.
Mm-hmm. So this one is a custom order, and the girl has sent me a piece of her apron from her first job, and I made a laminate out of it, and that's what this is.
Oh, cool.
And then she told me that one of her interests is whiskey, so I found some oak whiskey barrel wood, and that's what the rest of the handle is.
That's gorgeous. So what made you realize that you could turn this into your livelihood, your craft?
I wanted to do something different, unique. I wanted to take the old and make it new again into something beautiful and useful. So I start with reclaimed steel. This would be a saw blade. It was 28 inches when we started. I'll draw my shape on there and then I cut it out.
And you're gonna grind down these edges so that it kind of meets your template?
Right. So from there we will shape it closer and then we will go to the forge and forge it.
So you're making the blade itself and you're also making the handles. And how do you join the two together?
So they'll have the finished blade and then I'll find wood, local wood, native wood. There's several places that sell reclaimed wood and I cut it so there's two pieces. Put it on there, epoxy it. I use pins so it's got mechanical and chemical bonded.
That's so cool.
Start to finish, I have 10 to 12 hours in a knife.
Wow, that takes an amazing amount of dedication. So how long have you been making knives?
Really consistently for 10 months.
So you took 6 months to learn. You've been making knives for about 10 months and already your knives are being picked up by chefs across the country.
Yep. So now it's finished. We hand sanded and treated the handle. It's oiled and it's ready to go to work.
When I was watching you work, it's very exacting. Have you always been a very exacting and focused person?
Not at all. Like, this is the only thing that I want to make perfect every time.
What is it about making knives that captured that part of your personality?
It's got everything that a hobby needs to have. Steel, fire, wood, sharp, and the fact that it can be used every day. It's a great feeling to know that my knives are out there working every night when I'm still up too.
It's really cool the way that he makes those knives. And actually, Scott, who is on our crew, he has 4 of them, if you can believe that. Okay, so I'm now going to make the batter for the cake. I'm gonna pop them in the oven. I'm also gonna make that caramel because as the cakes are baking, I need to make the caramel so that it can then cool down. There's not a lot of complicated steps involved in making the cake, but there's a lot of time because things have to cool before you can move on to the next step. I have 4 cups of all-purpose flour. I also have 4 cups of sugar, lots of sugar, baking powder, and just a little bit of salt. You always need some salt to balance out the sweet. I'm just gonna whisk this up so it's all combined. Now, one of the other fabulous parts of this recipe is that it includes sour cream, and having sour cream or yogurt or some other kind of tangy dairy element in a recipe like this just really adds a ton of depth to the flavor. So in goes the sour cream. You want everything to be thoroughly combined, and then we're just going to add that to our flour mixture. And then I'm going to gradually add in this wonderful chocolate stout combo. All right, next up, we're going to prepare the pans. It's very easy. Just gonna coat these pans with butter and shake in a little bit of flour. All that does is keep the cake from sticking to the pan. I've evenly distributed the batter in my pans. I'm gonna go ahead and pop these into a 350-degree oven. I have it on convection baking because these might take 40 to 50 minutes on a regular oven setting. So with convection, it'll take about half that time. And let's head off to Ole Hickory Pits in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. They make smokers that are the toast of the barbecue scene. Barbecue, there's nothing more American, and over the past 10 years or so, it has absolutely exploded. And one of the big names tied to the incredible quality that you're finding in the barbecue circuit these days is Ole Hickory Pit. And I'm standing here with the founder of the company. Give me just that little background of how you realized that these pits needed to be invented, essentially.
Well, it goes back quite a ways. 1974, I opened a restaurant, a barbecue restaurant. Of course, to do barbecue, you have to have a pit, and I built a big brick pit that went up 3-stories high. And it was controlled with a manual dampening, a little chain kind of thing that goes up and down. Makes it hot, makes it cool off, which worked perfectly if the pit cook remembered to do it. The third time the fire trucks came, we decided there should be a better way. And lo and behold, over a period of years, we developed a way that is now throughout the entire world.
How is what you design different?
Ours is strictly slow cooking. We don't do grilling. So the mantra is low and slow in cooking temperature. The wonderful, beautiful thing about the barbecue industry is that it attracts people from all different walks of life.
Barbecue brings people together because it is low and slow. It takes a lot of time. You can kind of fiddle with it over a number of hours, drink a couple beers, just foster the friendships that form around it.
Absolutely.
So where can people go and experience the Ole Hickory Pit?
Well, fortunately, we have customers all over the world. But in Missouri, Illinois, this general area, my good friend, Mike Mills, has a world-famous restaurant, 17th Street, right across the Mississippi River in Murfreesboro.
He's incredible.
He is absolutely, quote, the legend.
Yes.
And also Mike Emerson there at Pappy's and, of course, at Bogart's. The Shaved Duck, Salt and Smoke. And other cities in Missouri, Kansas City, for example, Arthur Bryant's is probably one of the most well-recognized barbecue restaurants in the world.
Absolutely.
And the best-kept secret is they've been cooking on Ole Hickory Pits in the back for 35 years. But don't tell anyone.
Okay, I won't tell anybody. You've been here for 9 years. So what do you do day to day?
Basically quality control, make sure everything works right. And I'm calibrating and making sure the cooking chamber on the inside is actually doing what the thermometer is telling you it's doing, and just making it as efficient as possible. I test them, every one, for at least 6 hours.
Really?
Yes.
So this is designed where there is a burner, but then also there is the box where you can put in the wood so that so it's not just heat that is being applied, but there's also smoke that's going to be applied. So has the design changed at all in the 9 years that you've been here? Are they the same?
Quite a bit, yes. Whenever I first started, the CTO was a rotisserie. It's stationary rack now. The rotisserie was just so all your product got into the hot spot up top, but now we've got convection in there, and your hot is top and bottom. I mean, it's level throughout the whole pit, so we don't need a rotisserie, which means we have more cooking space.
So you actually are doing a lot of cooking yourself, though. I mean, you just cook, you said, just right outside.
And I cook on it daily. I mean...
Quality control, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we got to test it, make sure it works right. Yeah, we've put pizza, biscuits. I've smoked, all kinds of wild game. And then, the staples, pulled pork, ribs, chicken, and haven't found anything yet that I didn't like.
This is essentially not the gold standard. This is the stainless steel standard of the barbecue world. I mean, you've got to be so proud to be a part of this.
Oh, I brag about these things all the time. Even when I'm not here, I tell people, we're #1. I send smokers to Australia. We've sent some to the UK, Israel, places like that. I mean, they're all over the world. It's not just the United States, it's everywhere.
And they're made by hand here in Cape Girardeau.
Because when you go having machines put everything together, you lose personal touch. And if somebody has a problem and they call us, they're talking to somebody that knows, that works on them. You call a car manufacturer where a machine put it together, they're gonna say, let me look in the book. Half the time when someone calls, if they've got a question, they can ask for me, and I can tell them exactly what they need to know because I put it together.
This seems like a complicated machine.
Not at all. Here's our natural gas line coming in through the wall. All you do is screw it in, turn the gas on, plug it in, set your temp, flip your switch. It's on.
That's it?
It's on. You could do just the gas and add the wood for the flavor, or use the gas to start your solid fuel and shut the gas off and let the solid fuel do it.
Wow.
Just make sure the flame's hitting the wood.
And so how many of these are you testing every day?
2 a day.
So 10 a week are being tested and sent out to soon-to-be barbecue champions around the world.
We hope so. I mean, we take the top spots in most of those competitions. It is the cook, but they have our pit too.
I think it's pretty cool that all of those championship smokers are made right here in Missouri. It's pretty awesome stuff. While the cakes are baking, I'm going to make this caramel sauce. It's a relatively simple caramel to make. It's just a cup of sugar. I have a 1/4 cup of water and just a pinch of cream of tartar. So I'm bringing this to a boil over medium-high heat. And I'm going to be stirring this continuously. You will want to use either a wooden spoon or a heat-proof spatula for this. So keep your eyes on it. Pretty soon, the sugar will dissolve. And once it comes to the boil, then you're gonna stop stirring and you're going to allow the caramel to develop that beautiful golden hue. Now, while that's doing what it's doing, I'm gonna come over here and I'm going to heat up 2/3 of a cup of heavy cream. I'm gonna add in about a tablespoon of butter and then just a teaspoon of salt. I'm gonna get this nice and warm, get the butter all melted down. And once the caramel reaches that beautiful golden amber hue that we're looking for, I'm gonna stir the cream mixture in. Everything's combined, and I'm turning off the heat. This has to cool completely before we use it in the cake. And I don't know if you happen to notice the pan that I was using to heat up that cream and butter, but it's actually made locally here in our region by the team at VitaCraft, and that is where we're headed next. Here in Kansas, VitaCraft has been hand manufacturing amazing cookware since 1939. We have a chance to go inside the manufacturing facility to see how these pots and pans go from blanks to finished product. Wow.
We'll start out going this way.
Okay.
Pretty big.
This is amazing. How long did it take you to learn all of the different processes?
I was probably a good 10 years on the production floor before I moved into the quality and the safety part of it,
Okay.
and then I moved into the management.
You've been here since you were 18 years old. I mean, people have made their entire careers of working here at VitaCraft.
My mother and my stepfather even work here, both 25 plus years.
And most people don't realize that these pots and pans are made here in Kansas.
Mainly what we do is import everything. They are hard to find, and it's made in the United States still nowadays.
Yeah.
This is how our blanks come in before we draw them into a pan. Everything comes in a flat disc. This right here is a what we call cladded metal, which is stainless steel on the outside, an aluminum core,
Okay.
and then stainless steel on the inside also.
That's so cool. I always take my cookware for granted. I had no idea how much went into making it. really interesting things about VitaCraft to me is that, I mean, the warranty is incredible. I mean, if you break it at any time, you ship it back here and it'll be fixed, replaced.
Absolutely. We have a lifetime guarantee on our cookware. So, and we get stuff back that was made, you know, in the 40s and stuff, and we still fix it or replace it.
I mean, the quality is incredible. I mean, behind us we have the majority of the line that you are producing, and these riveted handles, I mean, these things are almost indestructible.
Yes, they are. Those rivets can hold almost 3,000 pounds. They're stainless steel rivets. For a chef in a restaurant setting, they are very abusive to the cookware, so this is what they want. It's something that will stand up to those guys. So.
Well, and I think that it is a real surprise when people find out that cookware that is this high quality, that's this professional, really is being made by hand by multi-generations here in Kansas.
Right. It's been tough because you get the competition from China and places like that, but we never compromise on quality, and that's why we can offer a lifetime warranty and all that stuff. We feel we make the best cookware in the world.
So VitaCraft has been in operation since 1939, and you're kind of pushing into a new era now. Talk to me about how the brand is evolving.
Yeah, really, VitaCraft was founded on direct sale. Direct sale is still a major part of our business, but the direct sale model is changing. The time of when the cookware salesman would come into your home and cook you a meal and then ask you to buy cookware, well, people are busier today. It's a harder deal to do. So I had to try to take the company and change the business model a little bit. And I said, let's go after the commercial market and the retail market because we make the best cookware. Let's make it bulletproof for those markets. When I came here, I didn't think I was going to be president, you know, but hey, this is America. Opportunities happen. But the most important thing on the plate is if you can create a demand, create sales for your product, the more people I can hire, and that's what it's about.
And that to me is amazing that these products are being built to last. When everybody talks about how things aren't made to last anymore,
right.
You know, these pots and pans are being made to outlast all of us.
We use high quality material. All right, we have a real lifetime warranty and take care of the customer after the purchase. I refuse to cheapen the product, all right? I'm gonna try to give you the best cookware I possibly can. And I believe that's what makes us who we are.
Being in that factory is crazy. It is loud and it's hot and it feels like there's just so much energy from all of that metal and all those machines. It's a really, really neat experience. And it's cool to see these types of pans being manufactured right here in the Midwest. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of shaving off the top of these layers so that it's flat. It's not gonna be perfect, it's not gonna look gorgeous, but it doesn't matter. It's gonna be all covered up with icing. I'm gonna go ahead and make the buttercream, super simple, and then we're going to ice this. All you need is about 2/3 of a cup of unsalted butter, 3 cups of powdered sugar, and first thing you wanna do is cream your butter. Now, I'm going to stir my unsweetened cocoa into my powdered sugar, and I'm gonna gradually introduce that into the buttercream. Buttercream is ready. My caramel also has cooled down. When you cool it down, it's going to become a lot more thick, as you can see. So this texture is what I'm looking for. When it's warm, it still is very liquidy, and you might be all nervous that it's not going to seize up, but it will, I promise. First thing, I'm just gonna put a tiny little blob of frosting down on the bottom. Will serve as my glue. Keep the cake in place. Now I'm going to arrange parchment paper around the edges, and that just keeps the cake plate nice and clean while you're icing everything. Now here's how I'm going to fill this cake with caramel. I am going to take my buttercream and I'm going to pipe a ring of it around this layer, and then I'm gonna spoon the caramel in, I'm gonna put another layer on and do the same thing. So that icing, that frosting is gonna kind of keep all of that caramel inside. And there you have it. A caramel-filled chocolate stout layer cake with chocolate buttercream. That's pretty outstanding. The buttercream is sweet, but it has that wonderful hint of chocolate and all of that salty caramel soaking into the chocolate stout cake. If I had a really strong espresso or a little nip of whiskey, it would be perfect. So thank you for joining me on this best of episode. And if you're looking for the recipe, just head to feastmagazine.com. I'll see you next time.